Caught my wife kissing a coworker after claiming she no longer had any butterflies. My wife and I have been married for 8 years, though we've been together a bit longer overall. We've got 2 young kids. This year has been tough. Lots of arguments, but nothing that made me think my wife would cheat. Lately, though, I noticed she was acting distant and just not communicating like she used to. So one night I decided to bring it up. That's when she told me she wasn't happy anymore and that she didn't feel a spark between us. At first, I freaked out, blaming myself for not being a more attentive husband, which, to be honest, is probably part of the problem. But then, the very next day, I stumbled across a strange message on her phone. Really lovey-dovey stuff. I looked deeper and found she had been messaging another guy for a while. Lots of I love yous and talks about a future together. Crushed me. I decided not to confront her immediately, thanks to advice I read on various threads. Instead, I took some time to read through everything I could, contacted a few lawyers for advice, and even put one on retainer. I wanted to make sure my head was clear and I was calm before addressing the situation. A few days later, I calmly asked her if she was having an affair. After a couple of minutes of awkward silence, she admitted it. Long story short, the affair had been going on for 6 months, and she claimed it was the deepest emotional connection she had ever felt. Honestly, I call BS on that, but whatever. I gave her a list of boundaries, cut off all contact, go to marriage counseling, etc. But what really felt like the final nail in the coffin was when she got seriously pissed about cutting off contact with the guy, especially when I told her to do it right in front of me. She even asked if she could see him one last time for closure. I stood my ground, though. I told her if he was that important, she could pack her bags and go live with him. She backed off after that, but not before calling me a controlling jerk. This morning, she texted me, saying she had cut him off, but my gut is telling me she's probably trying to find another way to communicate with him. Honestly, I don't think there's any hope left, and I'm not even sure I want to try anymore. But I still want to be able to look my kids in the eye in 20 years and say I at least gave it a shot. We have marriage counseling scheduled for tomorrow, but I'm thinking it might be time to file for divorce before wasting any more time or emotional energy. I'm trying not to move too fast because of the kids. I know I need to think about their well-being. Still, I'm also trying to protect myself here. Reconciliation takes both people being committed, and my wife doesn't seem willing, especially with her hesitation to fully cut this guy off. Update. The past few weeks have been brutal, but they've given me a lot of time to think. After our initial confrontation, we did go to a few counseling sessions. To be fair, the counselor has been pretty good, but the counselor has been really good about listening to both of us without placing blame, which I appreciate. She's helping us figure out how to deal with this new reality. We've also uncovered some deeper issues in our marriage, things I wasn't fully aware of before. While that doesn't excuse what my wife did, it's at least helpful for me to understand so I don't repeat the same mistakes in the future. Like I mentioned earlier, my wife's initial reaction to my boundary about cutting off contact with the other guy didn't go over well. I actually caught a few small messages between them before she wiped her chat logs and phone clean. That was the final straw for me. After seeing that, I decided to file for divorce, and she was served a few days ago. Around the same time, I had a serious conversation with my father-in-law. We've always been really close, and I needed his support, mainly for the sake of the kids. I could already tell my wife was hoping to sweep everything under the rug, but I wasn't going to let that happen. Needless to say, my wife was furious at first. Her whole fantasy had come crashing down. Thankfully, her therapist helped her work through it and explained why things had to go this way. I think she's finally starting to understand the real consequences of her actions and that some things are permanently lost now. Right now, I'm just trying to process what life looks like from here on out. My identity is changing, from husband and father to something different. The same goes for her. Since I filed, she's been shocked. Honestly, I think she never believed I'd actually walk away. She's been super emotional these last few days. I've kept her at arm's length, but I have noticed a shift in her. On a more positive note, we've been talking more. Our conversations have stayed civil, mostly focusing on the kids, which is our priority. I've made it very clear to her that she left a deep wound, and it's up to her to do the hard work if there's any chance of healing. I need space and time to even consider the idea of forgiveness. Let me be clear, What she did was beyond selfish and hurtful. It's the worst thing you can do to someone. But I haven't lost sight of the fact that we still have to raise our children together. And that's my focus. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out how to move into the next phase of my life and find my own happiness. I want to thank everyone for the advice and support. I'm proud of myself for finding the strength to not sink into self-pity or anger, but instead to take action that lets me keep my dignity and look forward to a better future. I don't have all the answers yet, and my emotions are still all over the place, but I'm starting to feel a little more at peace. Thanks again to everyone. You've really helped me through this. Over the past few weeks, I've come to realize you're absolutely right. What my wife did was selfish and completely unjustifiable. But I appreciate the kind words about how I've handled it all. I'm really trying to stay focused on my kids and their well-being, and knowing that people recognize that means a lot. Therapy has helped too. It's been good to have a space where I can be honest about my pain and my needs going forward. Healing is definitely not a straight road, but I'm trying to approach it with a clear head, a solid plan, and a lot of patience. It's not just about holding on to my dignity. It's about protecting my peace of mind, and I feel like I'm doing that one step at a time. Update. Hey everyone. I posted recently about what I've been going through, and I just want to say a huge thank you for all the replies and DMs. They've really helped me push through this tough time. Lately, I've been feeling a lot better. I'll include my original post below, along with a follow-up about my decision to serve my soon-to-be ex-wife with divorce papers. Anyway, now I'm in that post-serving stage and working closely with my attorney. What I'm curious about is whether any other betrayed spouses here have used the affair fog to their advantage during the divorce. How did you do it? Right now, my soon-to-be ex is clearly still lost in the fog. She's still in contact with the other guy, and honestly, I've stopped bothering her about it because it's keeping her distracted. What I want to know is, did anyone manage to negotiate better divorce terms while their spouse was still in that state? Were there any surprising agreements you were able to get? I'd really appreciate any advice on how to navigate this phase and maybe keep her a bit off balance. Aside from using the gray rock method and the 180 strategy, I've been going out a lot more, not telling her anything about what I'm doing, and generally keeping my life private. A community member named Dim Tim suggested drawing up the most favorable agreement possible, then having my lawyer adjust it to make it realistic but still in my favor. Then, I could dangle it in front of her with something like, "Let's wrap this up quick so you can go be with your boyfriend, and I'll be out of your hair." Another commenter, Director 25530, shared a story about their ex, who left them for a wealthy affair partner. Their ex was so sure the affair partner was going to leave his wife that she didn't care about their house, retirement account, or stock portfolio. She only wanted half of their savings account. The commenter was tempted to blow up her relationship by telling the affair partner's wife about it, but their lawyer advised them to play nice until either the fog lifted or the divorce was finalized. In that case, their ex withdrew $60,000 from savings and left, which was hard to watch, but it worked out in the end. Update on gray rocking. I've posted a few updates about my ongoing situation, but here's the short version. My wife cheated, I caught her, and she gave me the whole "I love you, but I'm not in love with you" speech. She's still seeing the affair partner. She hit me with the whole deepest emotional connection ever nonsense, then gaslit me straight from the usual playbook. After that, I dropped the divorce papers on her, and here we are a few weeks later. Long story short, I'm now in the post-serving phase. We're still cohabitating for the time being because I want to be with my kids as much as possible. I've moved into a separate room, which has helped me start getting some distance. I've also been using the gray rock method with my soon-to-be ex-wife, basically staying as neutral as possible, not engaging in unnecessary conversations, but faking it a bit when the kids are around. They're still young, so I try to stay upbeat for their sake. I've also been making myself less available in the evenings by going out with friends, working out, or just staying busy. If anyone has any more advice on how to handle this kind of situation, I'd love to hear it. It's a tricky balance. I want to spend as much quality time with my kids as possible, but I've also been enduring things like family dinners to keep things stable for them. Any other do's and don'ts for navigating this? Update. Wife cheated. Next steps, part 5. Hey everyone, I've made a few posts already, And for those who don't know the story, it's pretty simple. My wife cheated, claimed it was the deepest emotional connection ever, then hit me with the classic love you but not in love speech. I served her papers, and now I'm just over a month and a half past D-Day. I've been doing everything I can to move on. This post isn't really an update on the situation itself, because things are still in progress. I'll share more when the time is right. What I'm looking for now is any advice from people who've been through this process before. I've learned a lot from the feedback on my previous posts, and I'm hoping there's more good advice out there, lessons learned, things you wish you'd done differently, or tips that helped you get through it. Kranik shared some advice that really stuck with me. Be prepared and have someone in your support system on speed dial. This process is going to take time, and in that time, all sorts of things could happen. She might tell people that she cheated because of something I did, the affair fog could lift, and she might ask for a second chance, or she could even try to hurt me emotionally. There are so many possibilities, but the key is to have a plan for how to handle them. One of the best pieces of advice I've heard is to have a consistent way of reacting when I have to interact with her. Basically, keep up the gray rock approach. Also, no matter what she says or does, never make a decision on the spot. If she asks for something, I'll tell her I need time to think and give her an answer in a few days. That way, I stay in control of my decisions and don't get caught up in the moment. Update. She cheated, but I'm made to feel, to be continued. That's where things stand for now. Thanks again for all the incredible advice and support. It's been a huge help. Hey everyone, you can check out my story in my post history, but to give you the short version. My wife cheated, found her greatest emotional connection ever, and I served her divorce papers. Now, I'm just riding this train all the way to D-Town. Anyway, what I'm looking for now are stories from folks who've been through the same thing, where in-laws, friends, or others made you out to be the bad guy. I did get ahead of things after filing, letting some of my in-laws, family, and friends know what happened, but I didn't shout it from the rooftops because I wanted to keep some of it private. That said, I'm pretty sure my soon-to-be ex has shared her version of the story, and now I'm getting cold vibes from a lot of her family and some mutual friends. I get it, blood is thicker than water, but it still stings when people you were close to turn their back on you, especially when you've been a good dad and a decent husband, and she's the one who messed up. So, my question is, did people eventually come around and realize the truth? Did their opinions change over time? Or did you just stop caring and move on? Desert Throne 1000 says, her side of the family is going to be ex pretty soon, so I wouldn't stress too much about it. You won't have to deal with them forever. Just make sure you've got your proof ready in case anyone calls you out, so you can show them the truth. Brooktrout 523 shared, in my case, my ex-wife actually came clean to her family about the affair and that she was leaving me for the other guy. Her parents haven't spoken to her in 4 months and have been totally on my side. They've seen how much it hurt me, and they consider me family after 30 years, especially with the impact it's had on our grandchildren. Funny enough, I think my mother-in-law likes me more than her own daughter. My ex's siblings are a bit wishy-washy, wanting things to go back to normal, but they know she's a manipulator and liar. I'm just letting my character speak for itself. My sons, who are adults, have pretty much lost respect for her. One of them only spoke to her once since everything happened, and it was brief. They refuse to be around her affair partner and know exactly who he is. Eden 1096 adds, this reaction is, unfortunately, not uncommon. When a husband cheats, people often say he's a lying, cheating scumbag who betrayed his poor wife. But when a wife cheats, people are quick to ask, I wonder what he did to push her to that point? It's a messed up double standard. The go-to excuse for wives who cheat these days seems to be that their husbands were emotionally distant, unavailable, or even abusive. And people just nod along like that justifies it. I'd love to hear more stories or advice from anyone who's been through this. How did you handle the judgment from others? Did people eventually figure out who was really in the wrong? Or did you just stop worrying about it altogether? Hey everyone, as of today, it feels like I'm finally getting some closure on this whole saga that started back in the summer. I've been posting here and getting advice from so many of you, and I want to start by thanking this community for the incredible support. It's been a lifeline, especially to those who reached out privately with words of wisdom. This has been a tough process, especially with my close family living far away. It's hard being stuck with just your thoughts, but in that solitude, I found some insight and gained a lot of clarity. For those who need a quick recap, I've shared a few threads along the way, but the short version is my wife cheated and tried to hide it. I found out, realized she was too deep in the fog with her affair partner, and immediately filed for divorce. Things moved quickly from there. The past few months have been chilly between us, but thankfully, they've been pretty drama-free. We've separated our lives within the house but continued doing things together for the kids. The discovery process and mediation actually went faster than I expected. We agreed on a 50-50 custody arrangement, worked out schedules and holidays, and since we live in a no-fault state, the division of assets went by the book with a bit of back and forth. I won't get into the details just yet. Maybe I'll share more in a future post, but I'm already looking for a new place and excited about a fresh start. The finish line is in sight, and for the most part, the divorce is almost complete. As for advice from this whole fiasco, I've learned a few things along the way. First, don't bother with the pick-me dance. I tried it for a week after finding out about the cheating, and it was a complete waste of time. Once I realized she was still deep in the fog, I knew there was no saving it. That's on her. She's made her choices, and now she has to live with them. Do lawyer up. Find an experienced family law attorney who understands your goals and is realistic. The lawyer I worked with was great. Kept things practical, avoided ridiculous fees, and made sure we weren't wasting hours going back and forth over pointless details. Thanks to that, we were able to settle things pretty quickly. Lean on your friends and family. Even though my family isn't close by, I made sure to reach out and rely on them as much as possible. Their support was everything during this. Take care of yourself physically. I started hitting the gym about a month after D-Day, and I've already begun to see the benefits. That boost in confidence has made a huge difference in getting me through this process. Get into individual counseling. Talking to someone has been a game changer for me. It's helped me sort through all my emotions and make sense of everything. And one big thing I realized is that my wife's decisions had nothing to do with me. I've heard every excuse from her. We were just roommates. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. You work too much, blah blah blah. The truth is, those were just her justifications for making selfish choices, and now she has to face the consequences. That's where things stand right now. I'm almost at the end of this journey, and it's been a rough ride, but I'm starting to feel like I'm in a better place. Thanks again to everyone who's offered advice and support. I couldn't have made it this far without it. Looking back, I can see the timeline clearly. Our marriage started going downhill when she let someone into her life who was feeding her lines, stroking her ego, and giving her the extra attention she was craving. To justify it in her mind, she had to put up walls between us and make me out to be the bad guy. Sure, she may have been stressed from kids, the day-to-day grind, and the challenges of a long-term marriage, but instead of talking to me, her husband, she confided in a two-time divorce cheater with no moral compass. That's a recipe for disaster, and the blame for that is all on her. The exciting final chapter of Captain Sacknut's Freedom Day, as I've been jokingly calling it, is still unwritten. Poor choices carry consequences, and hers are catching up with her. That's all I'll say for now. I just want to thank everyone again. I still have a lot of work ahead of me, but I'm also looking forward to the many adventures that lie ahead in this new chapter of my life. If anyone out there needs a helping hand or advice, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to return the favor. Update. While this saga is finally winding down over the next few months, the hits just keep on coming. I recently found out something else about my soon-to-be ex. Apparently, she also cheated on her previous fiancé with a married man before we met. I had no idea until now. That guy, by the way, ended up dying in a fatal car crash. It's just more proof that the empty hole in a cheater's heart never gets filled, no matter how many people they hurt. For those of you who have been following my story, you know I've struggled with guilt about my role in our marriage, wondering if I could have done something different. But this revelation, it really drives home the fact that nothing I could have done would have changed the outcome. I have a question for those who have been in a similar situation. Did you find out later that your ex had a history of cheating? Here's a comment from the community. Throwaway 846200 shared. My soon-to-be ex-wife cheated on her previous husband to get out of her marriage. She actually told me this on our first date, and at the time she seemed truly remorseful, blaming her actions on the fact that her ex-husband was physically abusive. But fast forward to now, and I'm the bad guy, supposedly the one who pushed her to cheat. Update. Has your ex pushed to stay in your life after the divorce? I've got another question for the group. As I've mentioned before, my soon-to-be ex-wife and I have a couple of kids, so we'll obviously have to co-parent. For legal reasons and to stay close to the kids, I've stayed in our marital home throughout the process, but I'm not far from moving into my own place now. The light at the end of the tunnel is finally in sight. Here's the thing. I've made it crystal clear that while we have to co-parent and be civil for the sake of our children, any chance of a friendship between us is dead. She killed our marriage when she chose to cheat, and by default, any kind of friendship died along with it. I have no room in my life for someone who lied and betrayed me like that. But despite all this, she's been pretty insistent about wanting to stay involved in my life beyond just co-parenting. Has anyone else dealt with an ex pushing to stay in your life after a divorce? How did you handle it? She's been offering to help me decorate my new house and keeps pushing to maintain holiday traditions for the kids, but I've stayed firm. I've told her straight up that she torpedoed our relationship, wanted to replace me, and now I'm just giving her what she asked for. I've even made it clear that she won't be welcome in my new home. Has anyone else had an ex who wanted to hang around like this? I'm guessing it's some kind of optics game. If we're seen as friends, it must mean the split wasn't that bad, right? Her affair partner hasn't shown his face yet, and she's doing her best to hide him. But I know it's only a matter of time before their greatest emotional connection goes public. I have no interest in ever being in the same room with the two of them, but I'll happily stay on the sidelines with some popcorn, waiting for the whole thing to blow up in flames. As always, thanks to this awesome group for all the advice. It feels like my soon-to-be ex is trying to keep some control over the situation, maybe to ease her own guilt or look like she's still in charge. It's also possible she's trying to put on a front for the kids, or she doesn't want to be seen as the villain. But whatever her reasons, I know I'm right to set these boundaries and stick to them. It's all about protecting my own emotional well-being at this point. Her past and present behavior just confirms what I've been realizing all along. I wasn't the problem in our relationship. This was all her. It's important to keep that in mind as I move forward. And yeah, that greatest emotional connection she's so proud of will probably come crashing down when reality sets in. I'll just keep my distance and focus on building a new, healthy life for myself and my kids. You all have been a huge support, and I can't thank you enough. I'll keep my head up and keep moving forward. I'm taking care of myself and leaning on my support network when I need it. It's been tough, but I'm proud of how I've handled this. Now, for some feedback from the community, Proxy23 says, she's doing this for herself. It would partially absolve her guilt, at least in her mind. If you let her stay in your inner circle, it'd mean the betrayal and hurt couldn't have been that bad. Don't let her in. OP replies, yep, I know. She's always been concerned with image management, constantly posting on social media and trying to control the narrative. I've been letting my social media go dry anyway, just focusing on my own life. It seems clear she's focused on managing how things look to the outside world, but I'm not playing that game. My mental health is doing well, and she's definitely not part of my inner circle anymore. I haven't been sharing my thoughts or plans with her at all. Proxy23 responded, asking if my family and friends know about her cheating. I replied, family, yes. They know the facts, but I'm not sure what she's been trying to sell them after the fact. It seems like they want to sweep her behavior under the rug, but they can't ignore the truth. As for friends, mine know. Some of hers know about the divorce, but she's probably spinning her own version of events. I've noticed a few side eyes from her acquaintances, but honestly, they're not my friends, so I couldn't care less about their opinions. Hey everyone. To all my fellow members of the club no one wants to be in, I just wanted to give a bit of a final update, at least for a while. I'll still be around to offer advice, but it's time to move forward and focus on the next chapter of my life. It's bittersweet to type this out, knowing I'm saying goodbye to the life I thought I was going to have. But I've come to accept that change is necessary, and now it's full speed ahead. One of my last posts covered most of the saga, but for anyone who needs a quick recap, it followed the standard cheater handbook. No need to rehash every detail. Wife cheated, the saga dragged on, but now it's over. As of today, the official divorce decree is finalized. I'm no longer married, and I just picked up the keys to my new house. I'm starting the moving process as soon as possible. I opted for a buyout on our old place, feeling it was the best way to start fresh in my own space and create new memories. I really lucked out and found a beautiful house just a minute away from my current one. It's got a huge fenced-in backyard, a wood fire pit, a big garage, and the best part, a nature preserve right behind it. Being an avid outdoorsman and biker, it feels like my own little slice of paradise. Some might ask why I stayed so close, and the answer is simple: my kids. I want them to know their dad is nearby whenever they need me. Thanks to the advice from this amazing community, I was able to keep my head on straight. I started a workout program, which has done wonders for my mental and physical health, and I also dove headfirst into a new career opportunity. That move paid off in a big way, and things are really looking up on the professional front. As for my ex and her affair partner, honestly, I've started to let go of that disaster. Whatever happens between them isn't my concern anymore. Like someone here once said, when you get with someone who cheated on their spouse, you're getting someone who cheated on their spouse. That's not my problem anymore. I did my best as a husband and father, and now it's time for someone else to appreciate it. Thank you all for the messages, advice, and support. You've helped me get through one of the hardest times of my life, and I'm incredibly grateful. Now it's time to focus on my kids, my future, and living my best life. I just wanted to take a moment to send my well wishes and heartfelt thanks to this community. My life has depended on this support so much over the past few months, especially when I didn't have many close friends nearby to lean on. For those of you who are at the very beginning of this nightmare, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Surviving each day is the goal, and it's okay if that's all you manage to do. I'm not an expert, but I'm more than willing to lend an ear if anyone needs to talk. Good luck, y'all. Update: 1 month after the decree, what a difference. Hey everyone, I wanted to give a quick update, especially for those of you who've just gone through your D-Day and are feeling anxious about what life might be like after divorce. I'm about 6 weeks post-decree now, and I moved into my new place a month ago. I've been working like a madman to get it set up into what really feels like my home. It's well furnished now and starting to feel like my sanctuary. The kids have been over several times, and the rotation is working well. I've always read that kids are resilient, but it's hard to believe until you see it firsthand. I'm happy to report that they're handling things pretty well, and we're having our own fun at Dad's house. They've told me many times they love being here, which has been a huge relief. As for me, it was a little weird at first having this newfound freedom, but I've found that keeping busy is the key. I'm making to-do lists and setting daily, weekly, and long-term goals, which has really helped. I was initially pretty sad, but staying productive keeps that at bay. Right now, I'm focusing on self-improvement, home projects, fitness, and spending time with my kids. I've thought about dating again, but honestly, I don't have much interest in that right now. Someone commented on one of my posts that getting out of the house after all this feels like coming up for air after being underwater, and they were 100% right. As for my cheating ex, we've kept things cordial, but no sign of her greatest emotional connection, affair partner yet. Who cares, though? Tonight, I sat outside with a few beers and a cigar, enjoying the peace and quiet of my property, and I realized that getting the heck out of the situation my ex put me in was absolutely the right thing to do. For those of you who are at the beginning of this process and doubting whether to leave, I get it. It's tough, heartbreaking, and feels like a punch to the gut. But deciding to walk away from a cheater was the only right decision. And with time, I know it's only going to get better. Cheers, everyone. Update: almost 6 months post-divorce, moving forward. Hey all. I'm coming up on 6 months post-divorce and almost a year since D-Day. It's been cathartic to post and share my story, and I know a lot of folks have followed along, commented, messaged me, and offered hope. I appreciate that more than I can say. Like so many others who've shared their journeys, I hope my posts can offer some light for those just stepping into the darkness. There is another side to this, and I'm proof of that. If I can help anyone going through it, I'm more than happy to do so. I'm always happy to help in any small way I can for anyone going through this. The support I received meant the world to me, and I'd love to return the favor however possible. Now, 6 months past D-Day, I'm happy to report a lot of positive news. My house is fully furnished and really feels like home. My kids are comfortable with the routine, they love coming over and have even made some friends in the neighborhood. I'm beyond thankful that they've handled this transition so well. They've accepted the new normal with dad time and mom time, and there's been no complaints or tears. Outside of time with the kids, I've thrown myself into a ton of home improvement projects. The house I bought had been owned by an older divorced guy, and some things were neglected, but I saw that as an opportunity to make the place truly mine. I even set up a home gym, fully equipped, and I've been consistent with my workouts, boxing and all 4 times a week. It's been great getting my body back on track. Through all of this, I also went through a big career shift. Internally, I took on a new role at work and, instead of letting everything fall apart, I actually managed to get kudos for my efforts. I kept my personal situation private, got a raise, and put myself on a better career path moving forward. Mentally, it's still a daily battle. I won't lie. I struggle with focus and my mental health, but therapy and working out have been my saviors, and things are slowly getting better. Each day, I think about my ex a little less, and every small step away from those thoughts feels like a huge relief. As for her, she's still off in her own world. We co-parent pretty well, and I keep things strictly focused on the kids. I've mastered the gray rock method and have completely shut down her attempts to be friends. It's cordial, but that's it. For anyone who's been following the saga of her affair partner, here's an update. My kids recently mentioned that he's been around in a small way. I had to laugh a little. It's been 6 months since D-Day, and they're still sneaking around like it's some kind of secret. Sounds like the perfect foundation for a lasting and trusting relationship, right? I'm at peace with whatever happens next in that situation. At this point, I just feel lucky to be out of a relationship with someone who could lie straight to their partner's face without an ounce of guilt. Now, I have a solid chance to build an even better life than before. Good riddance, and best of luck to them.